Up on the money today, the cost of living squeeze is tightening. Inflation's at a 30-year high with more to come. The Bank of England yesterday raised interest rates, of course, warning that post-inflation incomes will fall on average this year, the sharpest drop, in fact, in living standards since 1990. With fuel bills set to rise in April by around £700 a year on average, a 54% increase, Chancellor Rishi Sunak's unveiled a support package for cash-strapped households. Is it enough? We'll be rounding off GB News North West Week by focusing on Lancashire and Cheshire, assessing that cost of living squeeze there. We're reporting from the East Midlands too, as we ask, is the energy support package going to do its job? Plus, each day On the Money features an in-depth Money Talks interview with a business leader or policy maker. Well, today we have a man who dedicated his life to fighting poverty in the northwest of England, Burnley's Pastor Mick Fleming, whose efforts have lately been endorsed by royalty, no less. That's later in the show. And as ever, I want your questions, opinions, ideas. Email gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet @gbnews. I'll read out some of your messages later in the show, so stay with us. This is GB News. I'm Liam Halligan. You're on the money. Now I'm back in the studio here in London, having just got off the train from Blackpool. It was an early start. This is the final day of GB News North West Week. And myself, our political editor Darren McCaffrey and GB News presenter Nigel Farage have been on the road, interviewing local political and business leaders and plenty of GB News viewers and listeners too. On Tuesday, I was in the Cheshire market town of Macclesfield with GB News North West correspondent Bradley Harris. On Wednesday, we moved on to Burnley, Lancashire, the former mill town, now an aerospace hub, the local economy badly hit by lockdown. Yesterday, I presented On the Money from the iconic seaside resort of Blackpool, with Darren presenting his political briefing at 3 p.m. from the same venue, and then it was Farage at large in Blackpool at 7 p.m. yesterday evening. A little bit of Wurlitzer there to make sure you're paying attention. Now, we staged North West Week and we'll go on the road again soon, because here at GB News, if it matters to you, it matters to us. And we're trying to get a proper handle on the extent of the UK's cost of living crisis right across the country, not least in those red wall seats so vital to the Tories. Seats they won, often for the first time in decades, in the 2019 election. Seats the Tories need to hold to stay in government when the country votes again. Now on cue, while we were in Blackpool, home to a considerable number of low-income and vulnerable households, the energy regulator Ofcom announced the new energy price cap. That was set at £1,277 in October. This is the average fuel bill for homes every year, and it's just been announced it's now £1,970. That will kick in April. That's a 54% rise, affecting 22 million households. Now, Chancellor Rishi Sunak in the Commons, he said that there will be a £200 discount for households. That's from this coming October. And there'll be a £150 council tax rebate from April for those in homes valued between Band A and D. And the government will extend the warm home discount for lower income families as a means-tested benefit to around 3 million households. Now, if you do the maths and you qualify for £350 of assistance with your energy bill, that's still a lot less than the £700 increase we're facing from April. Plus, of course, interest rates have just gone up again, food prices are going up, and in October, given rising wholesale gas prices, Ofgem could well increase that price gap again to stop even more energy providers going bust. These are tough times, and amidst the parliamentary theatrics and Downing Street rows, the cost of living crisis is starting to bite. And that's why in the final On the Money of GB News North West Week, I'm asking, Sunak's energy support package, is it enough? Here at On the Money, as viewers and listeners know well, we have grown-up discussions each day, Monday to Friday, with people who really know their stuff. So I'm delighted to be joined by Angela Knight, the former CEO of Energy UK, former Treasury Minister. Very nice to see you, Angela. Malcolm Grimston, Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for Energy Policy and Technology at Imperial College London. Malcolm, and someone well known to GB News viewers is Vicky Price, former co-head of the Government Economic Service, now at the Centre for Economic and Business Research, a friend of the show, and all the way from the northeast, County Durham, we have Callum Thompson. He's the Chief Executive of the Tyneside-based business Energy Claims, which has won millions of pounds for people who've missold commercial energy contracts. Callum, let's start with you. You're dealing often with low-income and vulnerable households. What did you feel when you heard about this Ofgem energy price cap rise, a 54% increase? We knew it was coming, but perhaps you were shocked nonetheless.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're dealing with businesses through mis-selling, assisting them through mis-selling and hidden fees by energy brokers and intermediaries. So we're not directly dealing with households, as it were, but by the same token, small business owners are just as equally as affected by this. And what gets us from our perspective is that there's no price cap that's been introduced for businesses, so the suppliers are able to pass on the costs that they're trading to the to businesses and the business end user. And as a result of that, because of our day-to-day dealings, we see the effect that it's having. But yeah, certainly as far as the price cap increase was concerned, obviously it affects a lot of us, and as you touched on earlier, I'm not sure that it's going to be enough for us.
I started with Callum, Malcolm, because I wanted Callum to stress that there's no price cap for businesses. A lot of businesses are heavy energy users, whether they're restaurants, pubs, steel makers, manufacturers, and that's one reason why this energy price rise feeds into the supply chain, leading to inflation more generally. You're one of the country's leading energy experts. What's your first impression of the Chancellor's pretty complex support package?
It's a real difficulty for the government because it's international gas prices that are pushing this. And so the UK somewhere along the way has to pay for it, whether that's in taxes, borrowing or consumer bills. So there's no escaping of that. And funnily enough, it seems to me high energy prices actually have some advantages. Firstly, they make us take energy efficiency a lot more seriously. And that's particularly the case in businesses. Now, those businesses will have hedged some of their energy buying by buying a year ahead, and so will be protected to an extent, although those contracts will run out in due course. But if that makes all of us take energy efficiency more seriously, and it also sends a signal to the market, the prices have reached the point now is the time to invest again. So I think any measure just to cut the price of energy is probably not the way forward. It needs to be targeted to those in the most difficulty. None of that's perfect, but it does seem to me that moves to council tax rebates on those in the least expensive houses.
A to D, yeah.
That's right.
That's a way of targeting the assistance, isn't it?
Yeah.
A broad brush way of targeting it.
I strongly suspect there are hardly any A to D properties in London. We should recognise this is, if the government is looking to rebalance out of London, this is one way of doing it. There are many people in fuel poverty in London who won't be helped by that. There is the loan, in effect, that we get £200 off now that we have to pay back over the years on the assumption that gas prices will come down, which they will. So those moves in the right direction, but this is going to be painful. There's no two ways about it.
Angela Knight, you're very experienced in terms of making government policy, as indeed is Vicky. We'll come to Vicky in a moment. It's a canny political package. As Malcolm says, it's focused on those A to D households. But the rebate, actually, we're going to end up paying that money ourselves, aren't we? It's almost as if the government's lending money to each of the energy firms so they can charge us a bit less, but then they'll charge us more further down the track.
Well, there's nothing about this that is free, as Malcolm says. There's only certain places you can get money from. You borrow it, or it's in tax or whatever. So I don't think that we should be under some illusion that there is an easy way out. I can see why they've done council tax, actually, because it's not just, targeting those households because of what they are. It's a simple way of doing it. Because the problem with social security, universal credit would be another way, is it would take a very long time to get there. But I see this as probably a start. I don't see it as an end.
He's going to have to do more, because the price cap could go up more in October because of wholesale gas prices.
And there's a few other things that need to be done as well. I mean, we do need to see what we can do in the way of getting more gas, certainly for the interim, out of the North Sea. I think fracking needs to come back on the table. I appreciate it's terribly unpopular. And I think that as we continue to implement the policy of taking out our old power generators and replacing them with renewables, that there has to be proper recognition that every time you build a renewable, you need a backup.
That's right.
If you don't have a backup, then you're going to have a problem. And so
that base load power that we need.
Absolutely. And so getting on with the small-scale, repeatable nuclear reactors is absolutely what needs to happen. I appreciate that now I'm looking several years ahead, but at the same time, we've got to do the several years ahead as well as the now, and just get that transition in a much better place than it is at the moment.
We're going to carry on this discussion after the break. We'll come to you, Vicky Price, straight off the back of this break. This is On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. We will be continuing this discussion, and also we'll be crossing over to Nottinghamshire in the East Midlands. We're everywhere with GB News to see how struggling families are coping there with too high energy bills and planning for those rises in that price cap. Stay with us. You're On the Money.
Hello again. It is an awful lot colder out there today. A stiff, fresh wind bringing a mixture of sunshine and showers. And those showers are wintry, particularly over western Scotland, where snow showers will continue through the day. This cold front has swept across the country overnight, clearing from East Anglia and the southeast by around about lunchtime. Introduced the colder air, and it's still windy out there as well, and that wind bringing a lot of showers into Northern Ireland, western Scotland. Snow here down to low levels at times, building up over some of the higher routes, particularly in western Scotland. For Northern England, a mixture of hail, sleet and snow in the showers here, along with North Wales. But further south and east, not too many showers, many places dry and bright with some winter sunshine, but it is cold. Certainly a lot colder than recent days. Add on that wind, that gusty, gusty wind, and it feels even colder. And that wind will continue to bring more snow showers over western Scotland this evening. The potential for some disruption, especially on some of the higher routes as the snow could start to build up. But elsewhere, the wintry showers do tend to ease this evening. For many, it'll be dry across the south and east, certainly dry as we head into the weekend. But it will be cold with temperatures close to freezing, even in towns and cities. Some sunshine then early on across the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but cloud and rain will move back in across the north with some further snow across Scotland, intending to rain at lower levels through the day. And we'll see that rain on and off for Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales throughout the afternoon. Further south and east, most places dry, turning milder again, but not feeling all that mild with the strong wind. And the cold weather returns to northern Scotland through Saturday afternoon. And again here on Saturday night, snow showers could cause some further disruption on the higher routes especially. We'll keep the cloud and rain across much of northern England and Wales as we head into Sunday morning. Sunday, again, staying pretty mixed, staying windy with wintry showers across the north, a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain in the south.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
Make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
That you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before. It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs, sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 1:21. You're on the money with me, Liam Halligan. I'm still with my panel. We're talking about energy. Is Rishi Sunak's energy support package enough after the 54% rise in the energy price cap faced by households yesterday? Vicky Price, what was your thoughts when you heard Rishi Sunak in the Commons?
It's something definitely, but not enough. And of course, what we heard from Ofgem today is that they are rethinking whether there's going to be a 6-monthly cap increase or whether they're going to be doing it more frequently.
Wow.
That means, of course, that consumers are going to have to look for that. They say that this is in order to smooth it out for consumers a bit more, so there's a bit more certainty. But in reality, it's for the energy suppliers. We've already seen nearly 30 of them go out of business.
Because wholesale prices are so high.
Well, absolutely. And if they can increase those prices under the cap in line with wholesale prices, which have been quite volatile, actually, then at least they might survive for a bit longer. But I think the energy market itself needs to be completely rethought.
Let's go back to Tyneside to Callum Thompson of Business Energy Claims. Callum, again, let's stress businesses don't have an energy price cap. They have to deal with the full force of the wholesale price increases, and a lot of the smaller businesses, they can't hedge, they can't buy on forward markets. Oh, we've just lost him. I do apologise, Callum Thompson. We'll try and get him back. Let's go back to you, Malcolm. You started this discussion by saying it is about wholesale prices. The problem, to me, is, yes, there are high wholesale gas prices in the UK, but wholesale gas prices are much cheaper in America, say, where they're investigating fracking, different forms of accessing gas, where there's a bigger emphasis, say, on other forms of energy, like nuclear power.
Yes, that's right. And we do import liquefied gas from America. We're just starting to do that. There's a big new terminal in Milford Haven. The last time we saw this, in the early 70s, when the oil price shot up, the world did respond by building a huge number of nuclear stations, moved back into coal, actually, at that stage, which we'll probably not do this time. So you can respond to this, and energy efficiency became much more of a theme. So you can respond. In that case, it took about 6 or 7 years to really make a difference. But it did make a huge difference.
And we are looking at small-scale modular nuclear reactors, aren't we, to be a bit more flexible?
And let's not forget, we're also already building one of the big-style nuclear reactors, and we'll probably build another couple of those. The government's looking very seriously in East Anglia. So I think they go side by side. But, we're probably talking about a programme of 5 years, but we really can make a difference if we get on with it.
Let's go back to Tyneside. Callum Thompson, with the perspective from businesses that are consuming energy, do you think there needs to be an energy price cap for businesses too?
I think most definitely, yes. You know, the equivalent price cap for, domestic users is 28p per kilowatt hour for electricity and 7p for gas, which are obviously extortionate. But for businesses, we see examples of prices much, much higher than that, well over 10p, double digits for gas, well over 30p for electricity. So businesses are already feeling the pinch, and we see this on a sort of daily basis. Obviously, we saw the casualties of the domestic suppliers. I'm not sure that extends to the commercial suppliers because they've been able to pass on those costs to the end user for businesses. And so as a result of that, there's many, many businesses suffering, as I say, in addition to what is already a multi-billion-pound issue in respect of mis-selling and undisclosed fees that takes place and makes up a large proportion of a client's energy spend. But I do think that is something that should be looked at, because otherwise, there's going to be a lot of businesses out there who will really struggle.
Callum, I'm going to stop you there. Come back to Angela Knight, former Treasury Minister. Do we need to get fracking? There's still that moratorium on fracking. I spoke with the CEO of Quadrilla yesterday.
Yes, I think we're now in a situation where nothing should be turned off, nothing should be denied. We need to put the whole of energy back on the table, discuss it properly, get rid of, dare I say it, some of the hysterical voices that have been around, and put a proper operational plan in place. This is about individuals, domestic and the country economy.
Vicky Price, should we get fracking? Will the government lift that moratorium on that kind of extraction of gas?
Well, it will take some time for any sizable amount of gas coming through. And we've seen what happens in the US when the oil price and gas prices go down, then Shell oils and gas sort of stops.
Because fracking needs a high price because it's relatively more expensive.
But it's a strategic reserve for the country. And we need to look... Sorry, Vicky, I've jumped in on you.
But this is where the debate's going to be, isn't it? In the weeks and months ahead, exactly here. And this debate is going to be right here on the money. And you two are coming back. And you're coming back too, Malcolm Grimston. What a fabulous panel. Callan Thompson there from County Durham of Business Energy Claims. Thank you so much to all my expert panel. As ever here on the money, we deliver grown-up discussions with people who really know their stuff. Now, families in Nottinghamshire are having to wear winter coats indoors because they can't afford to switch their heating on. As the cost of living squeeze tightens, our East Midlands reporter Will Hollis has more.
Every day, Sandra delivers emergency food parcels across Sutton in Ashfield, where rising costs are driving more people into poverty.
We're seeing when people come to the door with multi-layers of clothing, they can be wearing thick coats, I've seen one wearing gloves, and they're quite anxious about how the situation is going to escalate when the fuel prices go up.
On streets like this, cold homes aren't uncommon. Some choose between heating and eating.
Are you able to put your heating on at the minute?
Lisa is on disability benefits. The mum of two has fibromyalgia, a painful condition that means she can't work. She's seen her energy bill spike, affecting everyday decisions.
My young lad, he always says, Mum, can my friend come round to play on the Xbox? And I tend to have to check the electric and say, oh, no, I've only got £5 left. That's got to last us till tomorrow, so your friend can't come round. Or in regards to the heating, if it's absolutely freezing and we've only got a few quid left on the gas, it's a case of just pulling the froze over you and chilling out with the froze, or dressing gown. I tend to live in my dressing gown so I don't get cold.
Yesterday, the energy regulator Ofgem announced a price cap rise of 54%, nearly £2,000 for the average person. Spiralling fuel costs globally are to blame. Chancellor Rishi Sunak has announced measures to try to manage the damage, a £200 energy discount plus a tax rebate for many.
We're going to give people a £150 council tax rebate to help with the cost of energy in April, and this discount won't need to be repaid.
Critics say the support does too little too late. Here in Ashfield, 1 in 3 families are living on universal credit, and so any change in the cost of their living can be quite difficult. And so a lot of people are having to make really tricky decisions about how they spend their money. Back at the food bank, Sandra has another parcel to prepare. The local college set up the service when the pandemic began. Tutors know who it is that needs help. Sometimes they face the same problems themselves.
Electricity plays a big part. I mean, what child doesn't love to sit and watch telly and, I don't know, have all the lights on every time he goes around the house? So it's quite worrying that you've got to be watching those little things that the children do all the time. But you have to be mindful of how much it's going to be costing at the minute.
Winter may soon end, but the cost of living crisis has barely begun. Will Hollis for GB News in the East Midlands.
Will Hollis there, GB News East Midlands correspondent. Now, if you tuned into the show over the past few days, and why wouldn't you? It's a great show. You'd have seen a lot of our North West of England reporter, Bradley Harris. And he's not done yet, because Brad went to see a B&B owner in Cumbria to discuss what levelling up means to him.
We need to understand what levelling up is. It's a title that's been given that's there. But I would certainly say that throughout the country, there are areas that get more money than others per capita. Now, the issue with that, for me, is purely the fact that actually, although money isn't the be-all and end-all, without it, a lot of the infrastructure work can't be done. But then you've got to understand what are the problems around, and transport here is an issue. A lot of our people that work here live out of town, and we're talking, the West Coast. Now, if you talk about that in a city, travel 15, 20 miles to work isn't a big issue. It happens, there's loads of buses, there's trains or whatever. Here, it might be a bus once an hour. If that doesn't fit in with your starting, if you're on shifts, etc., suddenly you've got a problem. So we have a problem now with the transport structure. It wasn't designed to move people from the West Coast, where there are places of deprivation a little bit that could do with the work and want to work. There's no work there, so they have to move. That's great, we want them here. And if you go into Keswick now and look around all the shops, etc., every other shop, every other restaurant, in fact, I'd say 90% of them have got a sign up saying, we want staff, we want staff, we want staff. Chefs, you know, people that are places down in town at this moment in time, unfortunately, are closed because they can't get the relevant people to employ.
What do you think of business rates then? Labour want to scrap it, but what do you want?
Well, my personal view is the tax itself is unfair, it's out of date. It needs an overhaul. I think what is required now is a complete overhaul, a new piece of paper. Let's redraw this thing. Abolition, it's an easy thing to say, but it'll need to be replaced with something in some sort of respect. So rather than killing it off completely, I think my view is that we need to look at it. The government needs to look at it. It needs to raise some revenue, but it is unfair in a lot of cases. So let's get it reorganised, revamped for the future, looking at the way businesses are going to be working in the future and make sure it's fair to everybody.
GB News Northwest reporter Bradley Harris there talking to Gary Lovett, B&B entrepreneur up there in Cumbria. This is On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. Coming up, it's today's Money Talks interview with Burnley's favourite pastor. That's Mick Fleming, from a life of drug-related crime to one of faith and tackling poverty. A man dedicated to doing what's right for his beloved Burnley. But first, it's the GB News headlines with Rhiannon Jones.
It's 1:33. I'm Rhiannon Jones in the GB newsroom. Downing Street says the departure of the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Principal Private Secretary and Director of Communications had been agreed beforehand. Boris Johnson has reportedly told Downing Street staff that change is good. It comes after reports that a fifth advisor, Elena Narizanski, resigned just hours after the three senior aides quit. That's as well as Policy Chief Munir Mirza. An order to stop Brexit agri-food checks at Northern Ireland ports has been suspended by a High Court judge in Belfast. The order was put in place by Agriculture Minister Edwin Poots, but is believed to potentially breach international law. The interim suspension will be in place until a judicial review can be heard in full. The Transport Secretary says train passengers frustrated by emergency timetables will see big improvements in the next fortnight. Hundreds of daily services were axed in December and January in the wake of staff shortages caused by the Omicron coronavirus variant. But despite cases of the virus falling, train timetables remain more than a fifth below pre-pandemic levels. 95% of teachers say they've seen a rise in anxiety in their students since the start of the school year. In a poll by health charity Place to Be, many also reported higher levels of depression among school children. Hundreds of job centres and youth hubs have opened up across Britain in a bid to help employment. The government says the 300 new and extended venues will help get 500,000 people into work by the end of June. The first patients have undergone pioneering robotic surgery to treat throat cancer. The breakthrough at Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow means some patients will be able to avoid radiotherapy altogether. TV online and DAB Plus radio, this is GB News. We'll have a full update at the top of the hour. It's back to Liam and On the Money in just a moment.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before. It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 1:37 on GB News TV and GB News DAB Plus Radio. You're watching On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. As we've been reporting, the Bank of England has warned that post-inflation wages will fall on average this year, and the cost of living squeeze will be with us throughout the rest of 2022 and beyond. Now, while London and the South East is generally more prosperous than the rest of the UK, of course, there are obviously struggling households in the capital too. Our London reporter Alice Porter joins us now from Brent in northwest London. Alice, great to see you in my home manor. Let's talk a bit more about those increases in energy bills.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bills have been going up for a number of months, and that's mainly because the price of gas has gone up so significantly. So, of course, we had this announcement yesterday from Ofgem that the energy price cap would be going up by 54%, which is a record-breaking increase. Now, the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, he's announced a number of support measures to support particularly people on low incomes. But the Prime Minister himself has said that around half of these are effectively loans. And there are many charities that are seriously concerned about how people are going to survive over the next year or so with these sort of financial struggles and pressures on the cost of living. I was out and about yesterday speaking with some people when the news dropped about Ofgem, and this is what they had to say to me.
I think it's going to be really difficult for people who are already stretched, and they've got other stretchers coming up as well. I think it's going to be really hard. Everything's gone up, and this is a massive rise. Some people will not be able to afford it.
It's like a race to the bottom, isn't it, with the energy companies? I mean, we put them in. They allow competition for gas, electricity, but none of them could afford to hedge. So it was like they were offering low prices, and then as soon as the prices went up, they hadn't hedged on them, so they couldn't afford to sell it anymore. So here we all are in a spiral of increasing prices.
I think it's a great idea to do that rebate, but the rebate is needed now when everybody is heating their home over the winter months. So they need it now, not in 2 or 3 months' time when their heating bills have gone down.
Well, I've got a fixed price till December, but the cap, we're talking £600-700 a year increase in the price of electric or gas. And then you've got fuel, which is absolutely astronomical at the moment. Top that with the VAT increase, and people's wages just aren't going up, so it's going to hit people hard. I'm trying to save a few bob here and there. Whether it gets worse or not, I'm not too bad at the moment, but yeah, everyone's feeling the pinch, I think, and people are just going to stop perhaps going out or shirk on heating or, sell the car or something.
As we were just hearing there, Alice, from that gentleman at the end, it's not just energy bills going up, it's a cost of living squeeze across the piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen wholesale oil prices increase. I mean, we've all seen how much more expensive it is to fill up your car, and that's been incredibly difficult for so many people. We've got the national insurance hike. We've had that confirmed by the government. Now, that's going to be taking place in April. I mean, if we look to January, the shop price inflation almost doubled. And the real problem is that people's wages are just not rising with these extra expenses. And there's been quite a lot of pushback today from the Bank of England, the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, who was saying that workers shouldn't be asking for a pay rise. And that's had an enormous pushback from unions who are sort of saying, well, quite simply, what are ordinary people meant to do if their wages aren't going up? They've been advised not to ask for them, and then everything around them is getting more expensive. It really is incredibly difficult for so many people.
You're exactly right, Alice, and it's good to talk to you here on The Money. Alice Porter there, GB News London correspondent. It's time now for my daily interview series, Money Talks. And if you tuned in for North West Week in recent days, you will have seen On the Money presented in Burnley. And today we're going to hear from a household name in that proud Lancashire former mill town. It's Pastor Mick Fleming. After a strict working class upbringing, Pastor Mick struggled during his early adulthood. A life of drugs and crime followed until Mick turned to religion. He got himself a degree in theology and now runs a Burnley-based charity, Church on the Street, which helps people in need. It's supported by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. And I caught up with Mick when I was in Burnley earlier this week. And here he is, Pastor Mick Fleming, my latest guest on Money Talks. Mick, you're a very well-known person here in Burnley and across the Northwest. You've done a lot of charity work and anti-poverty work too. We met, didn't we, in early 2021, in the middle of the pandemic. What's changed in Burnley since then as lockdown has eased in terms of deprivation?
So it seemed to be at the beginning of the lockdown, it was about moving food around. So it wasn't lack of money, because no one could spend the money. So it was about transporting and moving food, about getting the resource to where it needed to be. Now it's about poverty. People can't access what they need to access. And we're seeing profoundly people's mental health because of the lockdown just being pulled down and dragged down. Anxieties, lack of finances, lack of access to things, just creating more and more poverty.
I talk on the Money Show pretty much every day about cost of living, inflation. Yeah. I look at the macroeconomic numbers, and I talk to learned, expert people about what these numbers mean. What do these inflation numbers, these cost of living numbers mean to you and people you know here in Burnley?
So when you translate that into reality of what it means old age pensioners not having enough food to feed themselves across the full month. It means children undernourished. There's becoming a distinct choice now that people are having to make between gas and electric and food. They've got to choose that.
Heating and eating.
Yeah. Over the month, you'll get to there'll be a week and a half in the month where you're going to have to make a call whether you put gas and electric on or whether you eat. And of course, you can't cook if you don't put gas and electric on. So then what happens is the food that you're eating is less nourishing. And then we're looking at the thing, for me, looking at the thing, such a massive mistake with the national insurance because,
this national insurance rise that's coming down the track.
I think it's a massive error. And the reason I'd say this is because the people that are giving to small charities like ourselves are the ones who are earning.
Yeah.
And when you tax that and you chuck that on their toes, they're less likely to give. Yeah. So again, it's the poor that are going to suffer because of it. And that's a big worry. I think it's a mistake.
Now, you're a proud local lad. You've watched Burnley over the years as coal mining ended here, as weaving ended here. Hard times in the 70s and 80s. Then Burnley reinvented itself, aerospace, light industry, quite a lot of money coming in. To what extent do you think Burnley now compares to the Burnley you knew when you were much younger?
It's an interesting question. When I was much younger, everybody could access work. There's always some people that chose not to, or for whatever reasons, but there was plenty of work, and when you worked, you earned enough money to live, and that's what's distinctly different now. You know, we've got people working that come to us.
The working poor.
Yeah.
In work poverty, as we say.
Yeah. You know, they come into us to access bus fares to get to work. So that's, you know, towards the end of the month, the money's running out. They can't get to work, so they'll come to us looking for finance with a bus pass and things like this, and as well as accessing food parcels, and that's working people. Yeah, that's different.
We've discussed in the past how much even the most vulnerable households, the majority of people want to work. They want to get on and they want to do the best for themselves and their families. At the sharp end, when there is low income work, how important is it that people can get to that work using public transport? How much is public transport, a lack of it, the cost of it, in Burnley, in your view, a hindrance, an obstacle to people getting into work and making their way?
Huge, absolutely huge. So you at the lower end of income, the bus passes 20, 30 quid. People waiting to get paid.
That's for the week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People waiting to get paid. They don't have access to that money. So we get a lot of people coming to us and we'll buy the bus passes, pay for them, and just to help them.
Yeah.
So if you can
Give
do
them
it,
a chance.
you give them a chance, especially if they're working. You want to kind of support people who are working because they're getting themselves out of poverty. Well, you're hoping they're going to get the opportunity to get themselves out of poverty, yeah.
The government's just released this Levelling Up white paper. We're seeing the Secretary of State, Michael Gove, talking to MPs, to the country from the House of Commons. We've seen a Tory MP here in Burnley elected in December 2019, the first time since 1910. That's a fact that I know that you know. Do you think the Tories get it in terms of levelling up? Do you think they understand what a town like Burnley needs in order to tackle deprivation once and for all?
I don't. And my understanding, my limited understanding of levelling up is it's about the infrastructure, it's about the buildings, it's about a top-down innovation. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in Burnley. You need bottom-up innovation. There needs to be investment in small, localised communities. And those small, localised communities will pull together and lift each other up. It needs to be investment from the bottom, not from the top. And it needs to be investment in people. And that's what will change society. That's what will change Burnley. That's where the levelling up will come from. So levelling up should be about creating equal access for everybody. It's no good having the best pavements in Burnley for people to sleep on. And I'd say to Mr Johnson, I'd just love him to come up, sit down, have a cup of tea with me, and let's just talk about a few of the people who we're serving. And they voted for him because they were desperate and they're feeling let down. You know, what's his response to the people? Come up, Mr Johnson, come up and have a natter, have a cup of tea and a ginger biscuit to dip in. You know, let's talk and listen to the people who are on the ground, you know.
To what extent do you see Burnley recovering as lockdown is eased? Do you think the town has taken a blow during lockdown that it will take a long time to recover from, or do you see that V-shaped recovery that we're all told is happening?
I think it's going to take a long time for Burnley to recover. I think economically things have changed so much. I think the high street looks different to what it did before. I think the rents and the rates are hindering new business startups in the town in Burnley I'm talking about. I'm not seeing enough kind of aid for businesses to start. I'm not seeing that kind of investment. My worry is the investments about buildings and infrastructure and let's just, let's get restaurants, let's get cinemas into the town. That's the leisure industry. If there isn't enough money to live, the leisure industry will fail. You know, so it doesn't make any sense to me, you know, to be honest. You know.
Let's talk a little bit more about this national insurance rise.
Yeah.
Obviously, the government is wedded to it. It's coming in
it's going to happen.
Early April, 1.25 percentage points increase for both employers and employees.
Yeah.
How is that viewed here in Burnley, particularly among lower income workers for whom that extra tax could be quite a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it doesn't promote the let's work. It promotes not work and rely on a benefit. Am I going to be worse off? It's getting to the point where I'm going to be worse off. So therefore, why would I do it? Why would I come off that benefit? Why would I take that job? So that's not a good starter anyway, but people are working. They want to be independent, but everywhere they turn, it's being chopped off. You know, everywhere, the amount of tax that people are paying in the daily life when you're working and you're on a low income and there's nothing left. There's nothing left. I can't feed my kids, but I'm working.
And that dulls the incentive to go to work in the first place.
Yeah, I might as well not work. So I know kind of it's not, you know, you think Tory ideology would be kind of completely the opposite of
to
that.
encourage work.
Yes.
And
but it
self
doesn't work. Yeah.
Provision.
Exactly. I know that's what you think, but that's not what's happening. You know, that's not what's happening on the ground. That's not what we're seeing.
How important is it, do you think, if the Conservative government is going to win here again in Burnley, if the local MP, the first Conservative since 1910, as we've said, how important is it that this levelling up agenda is seen to deliver?
I don't think it can deliver in Burnley, and that's the truth. Because again, I think it's about infrastructure and not about the people. And I think the people of Burnley are not stupid. If they don't see an opportunity that they can grasp to help themselves and their families, they're not going to vote for it. I think that the people of Burnley feel a bit let down. I think a lot let down, you know, to be honest.
You're not a political animal. I've known you for a while. You're not a party political person. No. You're not even a particularly ideological person in my experience. So let me ask you this. We're asking everybody that we meet during GB News North West Week. A lot of the political and media class is talking about lockdown parties at Downing Street and the Prime Minister's birthday cake and so on. To what extent do you want the media to keep focusing on that?
I don't really. I think it's irrelevant. I'd like the media to concentrate on the lack of provision for the poor. I don't care whether Mr Johnson has a cake or not. I don't think it's very good how it sounds. It doesn't sound very good, but I don't think we need to concentrate on that. I think we need to concentrate on the real issues of what's happening. People are dying, Liam, you know, kind of like poor, desperate, destitute, mental health spiralling down. I think we need to concentrate on that and not what's happening inside Number 10. He'll have to answer to that. His own party will deal with that, and the country will look at that in due course. So that'll get dealt with. You know, that'll get dealt with anyway. Let's look at the people who are taking their own life because they can't get the finance together. Their mental health is spiralling down and down. People, the mothers that can't kind of get enough money together to feed the kids. The old age pensioners that are sat there at 1 o'clock in the morning with no gas and no electric on and can't sleep. I'd sooner we looked at that than what Mr Johnson's doing inside Number 10.
Pastor Fleming, thanks a lot for appearing on Money Talks.
Thanks, Lee. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Pastor Mick Fleming there, my latest Money Talks guest. And we were talking there at Burnley's Rose Hill House Hotel. And there are other similar conversations with all kinds of people from the world of business and finance, economics and charity. Dozens of other Money Talks interviews now on my Money Talks podcast or on the GB News YouTube channel or via the GB News app. Just a few emails before we go. John says, Sunak has done nothing whatever to help the very poorest, those on pension credit guarantee. We live on £12,000 a year and don't pay council tax. A reduction in council tax, meaningless to us. I don't know how we can possibly manage with energy bills at this level. Alan emailed gbviews@gbnews.uk to say, why do I feel like someone's stolen £200 from me? Then they offer to lend me my £200 as long as I pay it back to them. And Joe says, we have always limited our heating to 2 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening. We wear more clothes if it's cold during the day. We've been doing this for years. I don't see the problem. However, if you're talking about no heating whatsoever during 24 hours, that's a different subject. Thanks as ever for your views. It's all we got time for today. Thanks so much for joining me on The Money today, and hopefully you join me throughout GB News Northwest Week. We'll be back for more economics, business and consumer news, 1 p.m. tomorrow. Have a good weekend, because this is GB News. I'm Liam Halligan, and that was On The Money.
Hello again. It is an awful lot colder out there today. A stiff, fresh wind bringing a mixture of sunshine and showers. And those showers are wintry, particularly over western Scotland, where snow showers will continue through the day. This cold front has swept across the country overnight, clearing from East Anglia and the southeast by around about lunchtime. Introduced the colder air, and it's still windy out there as well, and that wind bringing a lot of showers into Northern Ireland, western Scotland. Snow here down to low levels at times, building up over some of the higher routes, particularly in western Scotland. For Northern England, a mixture of hail, sleet and snow in the showers here, along with North Wales. But further south and east, not too many showers, many places dry and bright with some winter sunshine, but it is cold. Certainly a lot colder than recent days. Add on that wind, that gusty, gusty wind, and it feels even colder. And that wind will continue to bring more snow showers over western Scotland this evening. The potential for some disruption, especially on some of the higher routes, as the snow could start to build up. But elsewhere, the wintry showers do tend to ease this evening. For many, it'll be dry across the south and east, certainly dry as we head into the weekend. But it will be cold with temperatures close to freezing, even in towns and cities. Some sunshine then early on across the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but cloud and rain will move back in across the north with some further snow across Scotland, intending to rain at lower levels through the day. And we'll see that rain on and off for Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales throughout the afternoon. Further south and east, most places dry, turning milder again, but not feeling all that mild with the strong wind. And the cold weather returns to northern Scotland through Saturday afternoon. And again here on Saturday night, snow showers could cause some further disruption on the higher routes especially. We'll keep the cloud and rain across much of northern England and Wales as we head into Sunday morning. Sunday, again, staying pretty mixed, staying